You just got home from vacation, or you woke up this morning and you noticed something terrifying. Your neighbor's tree fell, and it's lying across your fence, in your yard, maybe even on your house or car. Now you're wondering whose responsibility this is, who pays for the damage, and what you should do. Today I'm breaking down exactly what happens when a neighbor's tree falls on your Houston property, your legal rights, insurance implications, and the steps you need to take right now. Let's start with the question everyone asks first. Whose fault is it when a neighbor's tree falls on your property? The answer depends on why the tree fell. In Texas, and specifically Harris County, where Houston is located, tree law follows what's called the Massachusetts Rule or Act of God doctrine. Here's how it works. If a tree falls due to an act of God, meaning weather events like storms, hurricanes, high winds, lightning, or other natural causes beyond anyone's control, generally nobody is at fault. The tree fell because of forces of nature. Your neighbor didn't do anything wrong. The tree falling was essentially an accident of nature. In these situations, each property owner is typically responsible for damage to their own property, even though the tree came from the neighbor's yard. However, if the tree was obviously diseased, dead, or hazardous, and the neighbor knew or should have known about the danger and failed to address it, that's negligence. In cases of negligence, the neighbor whose tree fell may be liable for damages. This is where things get legally complicated and often contentious. The key legal question is, was the neighbor negligent in maintaining their tree? If a healthy-looking tree falls during a storm, that's act of God and no negligence. If an obviously dead tree with rot and leaning toward your property finally falls on a calm day, that's likely negligence. If your neighbor ignored your warnings about a hazardous tree and it fell, stronger case for negligence. If the tree had visible disease or structural problems that any reasonable person would recognize as dangerous, potential negligence. Here's what you need to understand. Texas law generally doesn't make property owners automatically liable for their trees falling on neighbor property due to weather events. The burden is on you to prove the neighbor was negligent, meaning they knew or should have known the tree was dangerous and failed to act. This can be difficult to prove unless the tree was obviously hazardous. So what do you actually do when your neighbor's tree falls on your Houston property? Step 1. Ensure everyone's safety. Check for injuries. Make sure everyone is safe. If anyone is hurt, call 911 immediately. Check for hazards. Look for downed power lines, structural damage, gas leaks, any immediate dangers. If you see power lines down, stay far away and call Centerpoint Energy at 713-207-2768. Evacuate if necessary. If the tree damaged your house and you're not sure it's structurally safe, get everyone out until professionals can evaluate. Step 2. Document everything immediately. This is absolutely critical for insurance and potential legal action. Take extensive photos and videos. Photograph the entire scene from multiple angles. Clearly photograph the tree and where its base was rooted, showing it came from neighbor's property. Photograph all damage to your property: fence, house, vehicles, landscaping. Photograph the tree itself, looking for evidence of disease, rot, or structural problems. Take close-up photos of any decay, cavities, fungal growth, or obvious health issues in the fallen tree. Record the date, time, and weather conditions when you discovered the tree down. If the tree fell during a storm, document the storm with photos of weather conditions. Get witness statements if anyone saw the tree fall or can attest to its condition before falling. Save weather reports showing the storm conditions if applicable. This documentation is gold for insurance claims and potential legal disputes. Step 3. Notify your neighbor immediately. This should be a factual, non-confrontational notification. Don't start accusing them of negligence or demanding they pay for everything. Simply inform them that their tree fell on your property and has caused damage. Ask them to notify their homeowner's insurance company. Exchange insurance information. Get their insurance company name and policy number. Give them yours. Document this conversation. Follow up with written notification, either email or text, so there's a record. If the neighbor is unavailable or unresponsive, send written notice via certified mail to document that you informed them. Step 4. Call your homeowner's insurance immediately. Here's the reality that surprises most Houston homeowners. You typically file a claim with your own insurance first, not your neighbor's insurance, even though their tree caused the damage. Your insurance company will evaluate the damage and pay your claim minus your deductible if the damage is covered. Then, if they determine the neighbor was negligent, your insurance company may subrogate, meaning they go after the neighbor's insurance to recover what they paid you. This process is called subrogation, and it's between the insurance companies. You don't have to prove negligence yourself. Your insurance handles your damage, then they fight with neighbor's insurance over fault and reimbursement. When you call your insurance, tell them exactly what happened. Give them the date, time, and circumstances. Tell them it was your neighbor's tree. Provide neighbor's insurance information if you have it. Ask specifically about coverage for tree damage from neighbor's property. Follow their instructions for next steps and provide all documentation you collected. Step 5. Secure your property and prevent further damage. Your insurance policy requires you to mitigate further damage. If the tree opened up your roof, get it tarped to prevent water damage. If windows are broken, board them up. If the tree is still hanging hazardously, keep people away from the area. If vehicles are damaged, move them to safe location if possible. Take reasonable steps to prevent additional damage, but don't put yourself at risk. Keep all receipts for emergency repairs and mitigation. Insurance typically covers these costs. Step 6. Call professional tree removal service. Do not attempt to remove neighbor's tree from your property yourself. Even though it's now on your property, removing trees is dangerous work, requiring proper equipment and training. You need licensed, insured professionals. When you call tree service, tell them it's your neighbor's tree on your property. Ask if insurance will cover removal. Usually yes, up to policy limits. Get written estimate before work begins. Make sure the tree service is licensed and insured. Get certificate of insurance. Now here's the contentious part. Who pays for tree removal? If the tree fell due to act of God during a storm, your insurance typically covers tree removal up to policy limits, usually $500 to $1,500 if the tree hit a structure. If removal costs more, you may be responsible for the overage unless you can prove neighbor negligence. If the tree was obviously hazardous and neighbor was negligent, neighbor's insurance may be liable for removal costs, but this requires proving negligence. Your insurance usually pays initially, then subrogate against neighbor's insurance if they determine negligence. If the tree is just lying in your yard but didn't hit any structure, removal may not be covered by insurance at all. Check your specific policy. The practical reality in Houston is this. Most of the time, your insurance pays for the damage and removal minus your deductible. Then insurance companies fight between themselves about fault and reimbursement. You usually get your property fixed either way, but you might be out your deductible unless negligence is proven and recovered. Let's talk about the negligence question in more detail, because this is where disputes happen. To prove your neighbor was negligent regarding the tree, you generally need to show one or more of these factors. The tree was visibly dead, diseased, or structurally unsound in a way that was obvious or should have been obvious. You or others had notified the neighbor about the tree being hazardous. Document any warnings you gave in writing. The tree had previously dropped large branches or shown signs of failure. The tree was leaning significantly toward your property before it fell. An arborist would have deemed the tree hazardous if evaluated. Get arborist report on the fallen tree, examining its condition. If you had previously expressed concerns to your neighbor about their tree and they ignored you, document those conversations. Texts, emails, letters, anything in writing is valuable. If you don't have written records, witness statements from others who knew about the concerns help. If the fallen tree shows obvious rot, hollow trunk, root decay, or fungal disease, photograph these extensively. This is evidence the tree was hazardous before falling. Your insurance company will evaluate all this evidence when deciding whether to subrogate against the neighbor's insurance. If they pursue subrogation and recover money from the neighbor's insurance, you typically get reimbursed for your deductible. If they determine it was act of God with no negligence, you're probably stuck with your deductible. What if your neighbor refuses to cooperate or their insurance denies liability? This is where things can get legal. You can file a claim directly with neighbor's insurance, though they may deny it and tell you to file with your own insurance. You can sue your neighbor in civil court for the damage if you believe they were negligent. This requires hiring an attorney, going through legal process, and proving negligence. Most people don't go this route unless damages are substantial and negligence is clear. Small claims court is an option for damages under $10,000 in Texas. This is simpler and cheaper than regular lawsuits, but still requires proving your case. Mediation is sometimes an option where a neutral third party helps you and neighbor reach agreement. This is less adversarial than court and sometimes works for neighbor disputes. Consult with a property damage attorney to understand your options if the situation isn't resolving through insurance. Here are specific Houston scenarios that come up frequently. Scenario 1. Neighbor's dead tree fell on your house during hurricane. This is likely act of God even though tree was dead. Hurricanes are extreme events that knock down even healthy trees. Unless the tree was so obviously hazardous that it would have fallen without hurricane, probably no negligence. Your insurance covers your damage. Scenario 2. Neighbor's obviously rotted tree fell on your fence on a calm day. Much stronger case for negligence. Tree fell without any weather event, and if it was obviously diseased, neighbor should have addressed it. Your insurance pays initially but has good grounds for subrogation. Scenario 3. Healthy-looking tree fell during thunderstorm on your car. Almost certainly act of God. Tree appeared healthy, weather event caused failure, no negligence. Your auto insurance and homeowner's insurance handle respective damages. Scenario 4. You repeatedly warned neighbor about leaning tree. They ignored you. Tree fell on your property. Strong negligence case if you have documentation of your warnings. Scenario 5. Neighbor's tree roots damaged your fence or foundation over time. This is different from tree falling. Gradual damage from roots is usually not covered by standard insurance and may require legal action against neighbor. Tree root disputes are complex in Texas law. Common mistakes Houston homeowners make with neighbor tree situations. Confronting neighbor angrily and damaging relationship before working through proper channels. Attempting to remove large tree themselves and getting injured or causing more damage. Failing to document everything before cleanup happens. Waiting too long to file insurance claims. Not getting multiple estimates for repair costs. Accepting blame or liability before understanding the law and insurance implications. Cutting down neighbor's tree before it falls just because it might fall. You can't legally cut down neighbor's tree without permission, even if you think it's hazardous. Here's the right way to handle concerning trees on neighbor property before they fall. Talk to neighbor politely, expressing concerns about their tree. Ask if they've had it evaluated. Suggest they get professional arborist assessment. Offer to split cost of assessment if you're worried and they're reluctant. Document your conversation. Follow up in writing with email or letter restating your concerns. If neighbor is unresponsive and you genuinely believe the tree presents imminent danger, you can contact city code enforcement to evaluate whether it violates any ordinances. But Houston doesn't have extensive tree hazard regulations for private property, so code enforcement may not act. You generally cannot force your neighbor to remove their tree unless it's creating an immediate dangerous condition that code enforcement agrees violates city ordinance. Even then, enforcement is limited. Your options are basically document your concerns, try to work with neighbor, and if tree falls, deal with it through insurance and potentially legal action. Prevention is worth a pound of cure. Maintain good neighbor relationships. Many tree disputes could be resolved amicably if people talk respectfully. Take annual photos of your property, including neighbors' trees near your property line. This documents changes over time. Consider getting arborist evaluation of concerning trees on your property and neighbors. Share results professionally. Keep your own trees properly maintained so you're not the neighbor with the hazardous tree causing damage. Understand your homeowner's insurance coverage for tree damage and know what your deductible is. Review Texas tree law or consult an attorney if you have specific concerns about valuable property at risk from neighbors' trees. The best outcome is when neighbors work together to address tree hazards before they cause damage. Most people are reasonable. If you approach your neighbor with genuine concern and factual information from an arborist, many will address the problem. Sometimes offering to share costs makes the difference. If you're dealing with a neighbor's tree on your Houston property right now, call 877-454-7964 for professional emergency tree removal. We'll work with your insurance company, document everything properly, and safely remove the tree to protect your property. We serve all of Greater Houston, including Katy, Cypress, Spring, The Woodlands, Sugarland, Pearland, Humble, and Kingwood. We have experience handling the insurance and documentation side of neighbor tree situations. We'll help make sure everything is done right for your claim. Subscribe to this channel for more Houston tree and property law information. Comment below if you're dealing with a neighbor tree situation and have questions. And remember, most neighbor tree situations resolve through insurance without major drama if you handle it properly, document everything, and stay calm. Follow the process, protect your rights, and work through proper channels. Thanks for watching, Houston.